Good morning. My name's Wayne Perkins, and I'm here this morning to talk to you a little bit about security. As a preface, my background includes starting off as a police officer in a small town in southeastern New England, and I spent 14 years of my life doing undercover narcotics work with a regional group, and then ended up working for the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department and ultimately the Bristol County Sheriff's Department. In both cases, I rose to the position of Chief Deputy Sheriff. That being said, a definition, I think, of security would be the way people perceive or look at how they are protected from fear. Fear can be anything from fear of property damage or fear of damage to themselves, crimes against people, etc., and so forth. But security itself is, what do we do to remove those fears and maintain a safe and secure society? It ties very closely to the police work that's done on the street, in your local community, in your county community, in your state community, and in many cases with the federal community as well, with the Department of Justice. You see the term written on police cruisers everywhere these days that say to serve and protect. And when I was hiring officers, one of the things that I made it a point to get from them in an interview, whether directly or indirectly, was their desire to help people. And I think without a desire to help people, you can no longer count on them to create a secure town, city, or whatever. If they genuinely want to help people, they are going to be looking for the folks who would do damage and harm to individuals and property. And with that said, they do a pretty good job, I believe, of taking those individuals off the street, placing them behind bars, or the courts will do whatever punishments are necessary to get them back. I think along with that, particularly in today's society, are some of the problems related to drugs. If you look at the jail populations and the people who are arrested these days, many of them, probably a majority of them, are stealing or are involved in armed conflict over the use and or sale of drugs. They need money, they don't have it, they're not working, they're homeless or whatever, and they will go to any length they can to obtain what they need to make themselves feel well. That impacts all of us as a society. It's something that's a constant problem, and we've found over the years that the punitive penalties that are placed against these individuals don't necessarily work. And I'm of the belief that from a security standpoint, some of the newer things that are being done and tried in communities, states, counties, and even with the federal government to try to help these people get away from their addictions and start leading normal, productive lives like the majority of us do, is probably a better approach and ultimately will be a less expensive approach. Community policing is another term that you hear frequently talked about, and I think it's a very important part of the security issue. Community policing simply means taking the officers that are out there on the street, getting them out of a cruiser, getting them interacting with individual people, both at home, at businesses, on the street, in social settings, and so on and so forth. Once you develop a rapport with an officer, all of a sudden he's not necessarily the bad guy, he's someone that you can depend on and trust. Once you have reached that, you should be able to, or the police officer should be able to develop leads, get thoughts, ideas, and so on that can be projected through the department and working as a group improve things on the street. So involving the community is certainly a necessary evil. The police can't do it all alone. Without the people, crime will continue as it is. Many times when a criminal is caught, if it's gang related, there's no information forthcoming even from a victim who's been stabbed or shot or whatever, because he's afraid of repercussions. It's we'll get even with them routine, our own way. So as a result, we need the community to be the eyes and ears of the police. Just from a financial standpoint, we can't have a police officer on every corner, but we certainly can improve security through a number of ways, and I think that leads me into the next thing that I want to mention, and that would be some examples of what we can do to create better security. You've seen recently on television when a crime occurs, whether it's an individual being hit by a car that wants to leave the scene of an accident or whatever, that the first thing the police seem to look for these days is taped camera pictures of what was going on in the neighborhood, what was going on at the incident, to try to identify who the person is that they're trying to catch. And the use of electronics and technology of today has become extremely important to find and prosecute the criminal that's out there on the street. Another, maybe even more significant idea that comes to mind is the use of DNA. DNA testing was pretty much unknown 15 or 20 years ago. Today, databases are being created as a result. Even murders that are many years old are being solved through that database. We probably, as a result, have a more secure society than we had before. I would also hope that that acts as some type of a deterrent going forward. I think, looking at all of the different policing units across the nation, starting with the Department of Justice and going through state police units, highway patrols, sheriff's departments, and local police departments. If we could get them to work more closely together, and I think that is going on better now than it has for years, it would probably be a great improvement to stop or slow down the criminal acts that are going on our streets. So I guess I would close this by trying to give you a little bit of watch your back, watch your home, take care of yourself and your family, and don't be ashamed or afraid to do those things. The old saying, if you see something, say something, is very, very real, both from a terrorism standpoint and a personal security standpoint. So with that, thank you very much for your time.